tonight was that he thinks we're celebrating the birthday of Moned.
I'm not that old.
Betty called me earlier in the week and told me about the festivities that she had planned for Nelson, and it's a pleasure for me to be here and an honor for me to be able to participate in a very brief program in honor of Nelson. It's hard to kid somebody or to roast somebody you love like a brother, but we did ask several people to do it, and when the word got out that some of us were going to say some ugly things about Nelson, we even had a couple of additional people to volunteer. I had a few remarks prepared, but the first person I met when I came in was Reverend Bousman, and for that reason I'm going to have to delete most of what I had planned to say about Nelson tonight. After Nelson said he had left, so we can go ahead. After Betty called me and told me that she was going to have a surprise birthday party for Nelson, I thought maybe it would be appropriate to have a few jokes about birthdays. So I went to the library yesterday and was looking through the books on humor and laughter and funny sayings, and there was another gentleman there, and we got to talking a little bit. Turns out he had to give a eulogy at a funeral today. Well, I took out a book off the shelf that was about birthday jokes, and he pulled the book off the shelf that was about appropriate sayings at funerals and weddings. And we walked up to the counter and checked out the books, and I got in the car this afternoon when I got ready to get the book out and took out a few jokes. I found out that when we had gotten to the counter somehow, I had picked up his book and he had picked up my book. So, at a funeral somewhere tonight, there were a bunch of birthday jokes. And Nelson, I did pick one item out of the book before I found out it was about funerals, and the one item was, "Don't he look natural?" There are a number of people who do have a few things they'd like to say about Nelson, and those people have graciously agreed to take a few minutes tonight to tell you a bit of the history of Nelson Allen and how they've come to know him and a few things about their relationship with him. One of these individuals has worked with Nelson for a long period of time, enjoys a very special relationship with Nelson and Betty, and is a friend of a lot of people in this room. I'd like to recognize Danny Hammond. Danny?
Well, it's a real privilege to be here.
Me too.
Yeah. I'm going to try to make it through this, but I'm going to have some interference, I can already tell. I tell you, Nelson Allen is one of the hardest people that I know of to ever pull anything over on. Matter of fact, I had decided until tonight that it was impossible. But I now believe that it can happen. And I remember some years back, I don't even want to think about how many. And even if I could remember how many, Nelson would say that it hadn't been that long ago. When I was invited to Wilmington, North Carolina, to be honored by a group of people, and Nelson apparently was involved in figuring out how it was that he was going to get me down there without me even knowing what was going on. And Nelson knew some of the people were involved with these. It was APCO, the police dispatchers and officers organizations, who had invited me and made me a special guest of their yearly meeting. And apparently, I never did really quite figure it all out, but apparently Nelson was involved for a month or two in figuring out how he was going to talk me into going to Wilmington for a business meeting. And we had a real hectic time about the time we were supposed to go. We had a lot going on at work and a lot of systems to put in. And I remember just going into Nelson's office a day or two before time saying, "I'm just not going. We don't have time. I got too much to do. The meeting's not that important." And of course, the boss overruled and won and said I was going. And I was really genuinely surprised. And there were some amateur radio operators that were at this get together, and I had the radio with me. I took it along, and I think Nelson was afraid the whole time that I was going to turn it on and figure out what was going on. But all those guys had maintained radio silence, so I didn't hear anybody I knew or anything that was happening until I got there. So when I saw Nelson tonight, the first thing I commented was, "I finally got you back."
Remember something yesterday?
We've had a lot of good years together. We're going to have a lot more. And I hope you'll notice some of the special things here tonight that probably don't mean a lot to you unless you've been involved with Nelson and with Johnson Communications for a long time. There's a sword here with the Viking on it and the Johnson insignia that Nelson got from the E.F. Johnson Company in Minnesota not very long ago. And there are very, very few of these that are in existence. And we've even got a radio here that was manufactured by Johnson back in their early Citizens Band days, before they really got full-fledged into the two-way radio business. And those are a couple of things that kind of mark special meaning to us. And if some of you people see them and wonder why they're here, that's why. They are significant to, number one, to the company and the franchise of the company we deal with, and also it was real good to see Nelson able to get one of the swords. We had to work real hard to do that. They kept trying to tell us that there weren't any more, and they hadn't made any more, and they couldn't get any more. But after about a year, we convinced them that we had to have one more, so we got it. And I want Monez to come up here.
I ain't that old. But I ain't even what to say.
I think most of you people here know Monez. I first met him when I went to work for Nelson at Crenshaw TV. And he's also been a very special friend and really worked closely with Nelson over the years, and as a friend and in business too. But there's a story about Monez when he first came over here to this country and went to work. And I'm going to get Nelson to tell it to you. This is a surprise. Nelson didn't know I was going to ask you to do that. The reason I'm going to get Nelson to tell it, I can't
He
tell
can't remember any of that, Daddy. He's gonna make the story now.
you don't have to worry about it. It's not that story. This story is about a Cadillac. You think you can tell it?
No, sir.
You were there, I wasn't there.
Been over 5 years.
Go on, Monez, tell the story. You can do it.
He's too embarrassed, he's too old, and there's a lot of things he says you can't understand. It seems our neighbor, Mr. Crocker, Bo Crocker, S.M. Crocker and Son, God rest his soul, had always wanted a new Cadillac. He'd worked for years and years and years, and finally, he saw his way possibly clear to buy one. So they went and bought this Cadillac, he and his wife, and they brought it back to the office. And during those days, most of the guys would bring their lunch. We'd sit out back on a beautiful day and enjoy the lunch. Well, Monez, he couldn't speak English.
He's not.
Mr. Crocker was trying to tell Monez about this new car, looking it over, and he told him that there was a problem with Monez. He didn't quite understand all that, but the windshield wipers didn't work, and he just picked it up. So finally, he just went like this. So Monez, he understood. So they all finished their lunch and went back to work, and An hour or so later, one of Mr. Crocker's employees came in and he was so delighted to see him, he wanted to carry him out back to see the car, so he went out back. Here's the dash over here, here's the seats over here. The car was demolished. And on there, somebody was there going, "Come on, Mr. Crocker about had a heart attack. He was so upset, he just turned and went back in the building. But believe it or not, Mona has put that car back together. Didn't have any screws or anything left over. And the windshield wipers still work, but they traded that car. Mr. Crocker passed away, but Mrs. Crocker might still have the car in it. And his windshield wipers are still working. That's a good story.
It's really interesting to reflect back on stuff like that. And I've heard Nelson tell that story. I didn't have to be around when that one took place. That was before my time. But we're real happy to be here on your 50th birthday. And we're counting on you to have that many more. And you're very special to everyone in this room. I don't think anybody here could find a truer friend when they need one. And that's more important than any business relationship or anything else. Because I think far too often in this world today, all of us can easily, if we're not careful, put business before friendship and business before pleasure. And you got to do that to make a living. But some people, unfortunately, believe that you have to do that all the time, and you don't. And I think Nelson has shown me over the years that A, the customer's first, and that if you can develop a real meaningful relationship with that customer and be willing to help that customer other than when he needs a radio, that's something money can't buy and it can't ever be replaced. And that really gets called home when you see this many good people show up to tell Nelson happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you very much, Danny. Even though Reverend Bousman, and I wrote his name down so I wouldn't mispronounce it, and I looked down here and I couldn't read my own writing. At first I thought it said Reverend Boozman. Even though he's not here, every word that Danny said is the truth. Second person who'd like to say a word about Nelson is Joanne Watkins. Joanne, oh,
This gives me the Nelson celebration. We got a whole bit.
Well, I hope he's gonna sit here close now.
When I found out that Nelson was going to celebrate his 50th birthday, the first thing,
Oh, Nelson's not going to celebrate.
let me try that again. When I found out we were going to celebrate Nelson's 50th birthday, I told Betty, I said, I'd love to roast him. And she immediately gave me the opportunity and I could not wait. First of all, I want to tell you, in the presence of my husband and his wife, I have slept with Nelson. And let me tell you more about it. He ate a whole bowl of pork and beans before I did. And I'll tell you something worse than that. We were in a dad would always say, "Where's Betty? Where's Betty?" Because he spent the whole weekend doing that. The second thing I want to tell you about Nelson Allen is that he is probably, he was probably, I don't know whether he can do it now or not, probably one of the best dancers that went from Wake County to Johnson County every Saturday night. Betty and Nelson and Bill and I spent every Saturday night for years, this was long before the children ever came along, dancing. Every Saturday night, there were about 6 couples. We'd always go down to the American Legion building in Clayton, and we would have probably one of the best times of our lives. And I will not tell you all the details. Isn't that nice? I can tell all the details. The third thing I want to tell you about Nelson is that Nelson and I built a worm one time. Betty and I were in a sorority, and along with a lot of other women here in the Garner area, and we coerced our husbands into helping us to build a worm to put in the Garner Fireman's Day Parade. And those men could not make that worm work. We were going to pull it with a riding lawnmower. And that was the first time that I ever heard Nelson Allen use curse words. First time. He could put some mean words on that worm. The fourth thing I want to tell you about Nelson, he has taught me as much about cooking as my mother ever did. When Betty was put to bed with Jeff and told she couldn't get up for so many months, Nelson and I spent many evenings together in the kitchen. And I will never forget the first time I tried to make slaw in the presence of Nelson, he went berserk. Told me I did not know how to make slaw. And he immediately showed me how to make slaw. And from that day on, I made slaw like Nelson taught me to make slaw.
That's good.
It is good. So anytime you need some slaw made, call Nelson. He'll show you how to do it. Another thing I want to tell you about Nelson is that he spent many hours singing in the choir. Bet you didn't know that, did you? He and Betty and Bill and I would go on lots of trips together. And I couldn't sing, but Betty and Bill and Nelson could sing pretty good. And Betty would always sing soprano, Bill would sing bass, and Nelson would sing tenor. And he could sing really good, believe it or not.
Jeff?
Jeff, you got all your talent from your dad, Jeff. And the next thing I want to tell you about Nelson is that he and Betty showed Bill and I some beautiful places in this world. One of the places that I'll never forget as long as I live is a trip that the 4 of us took to Odessa, Texas one time to bring Paula home. And Nelson carried me to the first bullfight I've ever seen in my life. And he kept telling me all the way to the bull ring, he said, "You're going to pull for the bull." And I kept saying, "There's no way I'm going to pull for the bull." And before I left, I was pulling for the bull. And he also, on that trip, showed us Carlsbad Cavern, New Mexico. And I won't ever forget that trip because we left there, the 4 of us with Paula, and we drove all the way to Garner without stopping. And that's a long way to be in the same car with Nelson Allen. And the last thing I want to tell you about Nelson is that Nelson and Betty and Bill and I, for a number of years, had a community garden. And on July the 4th one year, they had planted just about an acre of corn. And that corn came off on July the 4th. And I have never seen as much corn that we had to freeze in my life. And we had butter beans and everything you could possibly imagine. I couldn't figure out why Nelson, this city slicker from Garner, knew anything about farming. Well, I found out that you can take the country, you can take the boy out of the country, but you cannot take the country out of the boy. And Nelson, I want you to open your package at this point. I want you to please open your package. We're trying to figure out something gardening and walking the beach and bossing Betty around as usual. And we felt that since he was a plain old country boy from Johnson County, that this would be appropriate. I don't think I have ever seen him in this, but I think it's time that he started using it. That's a genuine pair of corn brown overalls. Happy birthday.
Thank you, Joanne. The moral of Joanne's story is the only thing that Nelson knows more about than making slaw is bull. There's a line in the movie Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. I can't remember whether it's Butch or whether it's Sundance, but somebody asked one of them, "Why do you rob banks?" And Butch or Sundance looked at him with this real puzzled expression on their face and said, "That's where the money is." Judy Stevenson, of course, is with the bank. Judy's here tonight, and I think Judy would like to share a word with us about Nelson. Judy, come on up.
And he's tried to rob banks so many times. Never got away with it. We financed quite a few facelifts for Nelson Allen, but how in the world Monez still looks better than you, I don't know.
You put me in the same class with that.
There are a couple things that came to mind when I've been trying to think all day just what I was going to tell on him and what I could tell on him. There's one story I can't tell on him, and that's involved in how he got into his building, and so I'm going to spare you that. And I hope Nelson will share with you the story about his competing with Monez, who seems to be way ahead of Nelson on marking the X's on the wall. So I'll say that. But one thing comes to mind in working with Nelson and handling mostly business transactions. We went on a trip one time, and I'm going to have to pick on Larry Adams. Nelson is a mastermind at concocting stories and giving people initiative and blaming it on the other person, and walks away looking so innocent. We were sitting in a restaurant in St. John's, and he had concocted this idea that he wanted to stick Larry Adams with the biggest bill that he could. So everybody was told to order all this food, and we did. And at the appropriate time, we were going to get up, and we were going to leave, and Nelson was just as calm as he could be. Everybody was nervous. We'd been out on the golf course that day, and we kept rushing Larry, and Larry likes to play golf, and Nelson said, "You better get him back here." And so Linda, myself, and Tom got him back there, only to know that the poor fellow was going to be stuck with about a $500 or $600 bill. We weren't sure if he had that much limit on his card, and Nelson was afraid he didn't. But he is a mastermind at concocting that. He gracefully got up that night, and everybody left, and there was Larry and Linda. And Nelson was out in the lobby just having a good time, and I think he was asking people to order more and put it on that bill. So we go back a long way, and we have had a few laughs. That's one of the best times I can remember. And also, we've done a lot of things together. Nelson and I will finance another facelift and a list for other parts of your body if you need it. So you can keep up with Monez. We're happy that you're getting to the point that you are going to be retired. We're real pleased. One other story comes to mind. Nelson was in the bank one day, and when he's in the bank, he's got a whole lot on his mind, and I have a real nice-looking young lady that's an assistant there, and Nelson was just there slinging his water, and this young lady was there trying to help him, and Nelson all of a sudden just dashed her with water. Vanilla, isn't that true? he wanted her to have a bath, so he's done a lot of things that these people just smiled and said, "I was going to hit him. I was going to hit him." We're not going to hit you, but we could hit you with a lot of other stories. It's been really, really great toasting you. And I won't tell the story, but I will hope for you many years that you can put the X's on the wall, and there's a drug that you can take to help you out with that. You can tell that story. And, some time, enjoying being 50. It really shows.
Nelson's like me, he has to smile at those jokes. I stay scared to death that Judy's gonna call my note. I was at that dinner with Larry and Linda that night. Walked in the door tonight and saw Larry. Suggested that we go out to eat sometime. Because the look came, this look of fear came over his face. It took me a minute to figure out why he's concerned. Kenneth Jeffries. Kenneth, come on.
He's got a bill, he'll charge you.
No, I've been knowing Nelson here about a little better than 20 years. He's been coming to my place. And I'm in Barber. And every time he comes in, where I got one in the shop at 5, he said, I don't like it. You don't look good. And I said, why you come, Nelson? He said, because I like it.
How much is it gonna cost?
I hope that we can do it again for another 20 maybe.
For $20?
Yeah.
Thank you, Kenneth.
Yeah.
Next person is an individual that Nelson has enjoyed a special type of relationship with over the years. Corky Cretney. Corky, please come on down.
Oh man, I can't face your back. I'm gonna stand right here and say what I gotta say about it. You know, I'm real glad to see Danny here tonight. I'll never forget, I know, I'll never forget that night you brought a lot of your employees to the home builders meeting over there at Selma. And they wouldn't let Danny have a single drink during the social hour. And I asked Nelson, I said, for crying out loud, can't he have just one drink? He said, he's the designated driver. I've been very privileged throughout my life to know quite a few people. And I enjoyed Ready Mix Concrete business for 35 years. And Danny, you were absolutely right. This man doesn't necessarily become a friend strictly for business. You know, every human being that walks the face of the earth, if he can count true friends that he has on one hand, is a mighty fortunate person. And this is one of the fingers that I've got on my right hand. Nelson Allen has always been a friend to me. Seemed like he'd know when the downs were, especially the most depressing time in construction is in the wintertime, January, February, the middle of March. And my wife can testify that I've always been depressed in the concrete business during that time. It was all outgoing, nothing coming in. And Nelson had a way of knowing exactly when to come and pay a visit with me and boost me up. We've gone through some good times, Nelson. We've gone through some hard times. Yes, sir. But I'm retired. I'm retired. I've been retired 3 years. And you know, when you're in the mainstream of business and the people that you do business with come by and see you to pay a visit, and I always gave them time in my office. I never had anybody wait too long. I'd always make time for them to visit. But after you get out of the mainstream and you retire and you're not there doing business and these fellows don't come by all the time, but I can truly say, in the past 3 years, although I'm not in the concrete business, Nelson and Betty have come and visited with me at my home, and another young fellow that used to call with me used to come, but two people out of the hundreds of people that would come and make a call. Danny has given a lot of good advice. Don't just let that be a business relationship. Let that be a friendship relationship. And I'm very honored to call Nelson Allen my friend. And I thank you very much for all that you've done for me, Nelson. And I certainly appreciate you making my wife's Christmas so beautiful every year. You know, he sends her a poinsettia every Christmas. And she says, why don't you ever send me a flower?
Thank you very much, Corky. There's one word that seems to recur in describing Nelson and talking about the relationships that he's had with people over the years, and that's the word friendship. There's nothing more valuable, nothing more important than a true friend. One other person I'd like to call on by name, and then we're going to take a few more comments. Ruth Anderson. Ruth.
I can't do anything but reiterate what everyone else here has said about Nelson. He is truly a special person, one I'm proud to call a close friend of mine. I met Nelson through the home builders. I haven't known him as long as a lot of you have, but I feel like I've known him forever. Like everyone else who's gone before has said, he's always there. No matter how busy he is, if you need an ear, he's got one. If you need time, he's got time. He's just a very special person, and I'd like to join everyone else in wishing him a very happy 50th birthday, and I'm sure he'll have 50 more.
I'm sure there's somebody else who wants to share a word or a memory or a thought or an observation or feeling about Nelson. Is anybody else who wants to say anything? Oh, there. This is Nelson's brother. I don't know how many of you brother.
We got a right good sized family here tonight, and there's some of them that aren't even here. I felt like it wouldn't be proper for this to go by without somebody in the family saying something. Those overalls bring back memories to us. We are well aware of how appropriate they are for certain types of work. In our younger days, we did a lot of that kind of work. When Nelson was growing up, I will tell you, I'm 15 years older than he is. When he was coming along, he was as mischievous as you all have known him to be now. But through that mischievousness, he met people, he got along with people, and I'm going to tell a bit of a lie, but it fits Nelson pretty well. Nelson went away to the Army. He came back, and I said, well, I'm going to take Nelson around and let him meet people. President Eisenhower was our president then. And I said, I'm going to take him up and introduce him to the president. So I went up, made arrangements to get in to see him, and walked in. President Eisenhower says, well, Nelson Allen, how are you? Glad to see you. I said, well, I'm going to outdo him some way. So I said, let's go to London. Well, we went over to London, and I made arrangements to get in to see the Queen. And you know what happened? We walked in, and she didn't even notice me. She said, Nelson Allen, it's so nice to see you. I said, well, we'll fix it. While we're over here anyway, let's go to Rome. So we were out by the Basilica over there. All at once I looked around and Nelson was gone. And I went to searching and looking and all over the place, and all at once here appears this fella up on at the window with the beanie on. And I didn't have time to even notice him. I was searching so for Nelson, and I overheard somebody say to his friend, "Who are those people up there?" The guy says, "Well, I don't know who that guy in the beanie is, but that tall guy is Nelson there." And as I said, that's a lie. There's a lot of people in this part of North Carolina who knows Nelson. And I don't know what it'd be like to brag on your family, but we're all proud of him. And we're just very happy to see so many friends of his here. We love him, and we wish him good.
Thank you very much. Okay, now's your chance. We got him where we want him. He can't answer back. Nothing else he can say.
This is kind of unusual for me, but I've been knowing him for about at least 20 years about.
No, I don't think I.
How long have you been in this business? I just want to know, because I know when you started in this business.
21
Whatever.
to 14.
Well, I've been knowing Nelson for that long anyway. When I know when he went into this business here, because I first started out and I was just a small man getting started, and I think I bought 3 radios from him, one for my house, and I had 2 trucks, I believe it was. And so I ended up buying 2 repeaters now. So, I mean, I've got 15 or 20 radios, and I never did. He's always been such a nice fellow that he didn't. I started out with some kind of contract about $29 a month. Yeah. You know something? He's thought enough of me, and I let him know. I said, "Nelson," I said, "I'm gonna buy these radios. I can't get up that contract." So I've got about 25 or 30 radios now, and he still. I got a contract with him for $29 a month. So, but I'm gonna tell you now, you know, everyone has said a lot of things about him tonight. Let me say one thing. I'm Lindsey Dickerson from Durham, North Carolina. Have a little business going over there.
They have a basketball team there.
You better believe it. 2 of them, Duke and Carolina. But truly, they all come back to this point of friendship. This gentleman right here, I tell you, I walk in that place of business over there, and not only he's been my friend, but everybody that works in that place over there treat me just like I'm one of them. So I just feel good to go over and visit with him, and I've sent him many customers that I've talked good about him. So I just want to say happy birthday to you, and I hope you'll have another 50.
Thank you.
And I hope I live to see it. I ain't gonna tell that. I paid you for it.
No, sir. Ma'am, that's your turn. You want to make some notes? They say the first thing you do is the memory. Anybody else?
I'm glad you passed out chairs tonight, because I think it's going all night long. I'm proud to say that my first relationship with Nelson was through his wife as a math teacher, and she became a good friend. If you can make friends with your math teacher, the math student that I was, you become friends with anybody, so it does fell on Nelson down the road. But there's 3 stories that come to mind with Nelson. One of them he's really not aware of, because it turned out everything came back in good shape. But I was fresh out of high school and got together with some of my buddies that were fellow firemen that was Garner Volunteer Fire Department. And it was my first real outing, you know, as an adult in the adult world. I had my own car, and 6 of my friends got together, and they got girlfriends and wives, and the oldest one in the bunch was probably 24 years old. we were going to Nags Head for a long weekend, a real getaway. You know, we were all just like birds out of the cage. We got a boat. We got access to a boat that weekend, and none of us owned a boat, rolling up to buy a car, much less a boat. As we went down the road and hooked up the boat, I said, well, whose boat is this? They said, well, it's Nelson Allen's. And I thought to myself right then, I said, well, either he's a mighty fine man or he's a fool. I mean, if he can see us just trying to hook a hitch up, simple hitch onto the ball on the back of Roger Wright's van that day, I think he'd have had second thoughts about letting his nice brand new motorboat go. If we were going to Nags and we were going to snow ski, I mean, water ski in the sound would wave this high on this man's boat. And none of us knew what was going to happen. I'm sure he didn't, but it's a real indication of how he can be and how such a giving person that he has been. I'm in retail business like Nelson is, and we're constantly getting people through the door soliciting for this and that. And I've always, as a policy, anybody who's shopping with me regularly, I've always tried to reciprocate with at least the smallest donation. I've never bought a Johnson radio, never have had a need for it, but the last 2 years I've had the esteemed privilege of trying to put on the Balloon Festival. I was chairman of the Triangle Balloon Festival through the Clayton Rotary Club. And the second year, especially after it rained out the first year, I felt even a deeper need to call on my friends to raise $45,000 to put on a big event. And tried to make arrangements to give him Nelson, so I said, well, I'll just pop in one day around lunchtime and see if I can take him by his lunch and maybe offer him a chance to sponsor a balloon for $400. So I walked in, he had 2 in the office and 2 in the waiting room, and you couldn't even get a word in edgewise. And he came out, shaking one's hand, sending him on the way, and about to greet another, and he saw me standing over in the corner. I didn't have an appointment, I was just there. He said, what are you here for? I said, well, I was going to take you to lunch and hopefully get a balloon sponsorship out of the balloon festival. And he said, well, how much is it? I said, $400. And I had really a hard sell. These cold calls, trying to sell a balloon sponsorship with a history of rain like we had was the most difficult thing I've ever done. And Nelson says, how do you want to check that out? He didn't ask me what it involved. You know, $400, he just knew it was me and a friend, and yeah, right on the dotted line. So that's a real indication of how we can be if you're his friend. The third one is funny. It's not funny because it involves a funeral. And when somebody said that Nelson always got in the last word, I thought this was sort of funny too, because this is about Monez as well as Nelson. Monez came over, and of course both his parents were ill, and he brought them over and looked after them until their death. But when Monez's father died, it was sort of a chaotic situation at the Glory Funeral Home. I can remember my mother and I attending the funeral, and it was a June, I believe. It was hot. I remember being really hot. The place was packed. All of Monez's friends were there. Nelson was there, so I'm sure too. And there was a lot of confusion about who was going to do the final rites. They were bringing in somebody from Washington, D.C. It was supposed to be one denomination, and I don't think it turned out to be who they thought it was going to be. So nobody knew what was going on, not even Jim McLaurin. Y'all seen him trying to read the Bible and pick out the right scripture. Everybody's in the corner. It turned out to be as well respected a man as Monez's father did. The funeral didn't turn out quite like they had hoped it would. Well, this gentleman, the casket was rolled in ahead of a gentleman holding a shaker with burning incense, with about 4 tiers of burning incense. And keep in mind, everybody was hot, and the funeral was late, it started. Here comes this gentleman down the aisle doing what we thought was maybe Arabic. It turns out Monez and Maggie and family didn't even understand what he was saying. But he has his incense burning anyhow, and it's hot and stuffy. I don't know if the air conditioner was working. And he goes into this long ritual. It must have been 45 minutes long. Well, everybody stood up when he came in, including the family, and remained standing for at least 45 minutes. At least 45 minutes. It was hot. You could see people just start swaying. and the people that were on the pallbearers on the front row, where this incense was being shaken, you could see them taking out their handkerchiefs and wiping their eyes, tears out of his eyes. But this stuff was really rank. I mean, those people that have ever smelled marijuana, you know how bad it is to be around. You've been around somebody that's ever had it. Well, funeral went on, and this was several days later. I was a little bit hesitant to talk about it, but I had to ask Maggie and Monez, about the funeral and the rites that went on, because nobody understood what it was. And I told Maggie, I said, well, we were waiting for you guys to sit down. Before we sat down, and And when you stood up the whole time, we stood up the whole time, we figured it was the thing to do, and they indicated, well, we didn't know when to sit down either, we couldn't understand. But the incense, Kendall thought the incense, I had hay fever bad, my eyes were running, I know that my nose was running, you couldn't blow it, and I know the guys up there were just about to pass out on the front row. And so finally I asked Mona, I said, what is that stuff they were burning, Mona? What was it burning? And Mona said, I don't know what it was. I said, well, it smelled awful. And Nelson was in the conversation. Nelson chimed in, he said, the stuff they burn in those little incense cups is indicative of the life that the man led. He said, when Mona dies, you won't be able to see it. We got to hang around. He's got a whole lot of mouths to feed here. We got to hang around for him. There's nothing else. So. About Jessica. I'll let you tell that one. I don't remember that one. Let you tell me. That one escapes me. Hey, I wasn't in that conversation. I wasn't privy to that. You feel free to tell that one. I can't remember.
Okay.
It's your turn yet. With regard to that remark you made about the funeral of Mona Nelson, I've done through that book. I got out and saw pretty thoroughly, and I didn't find that comment in there. Is there anybody else that'd like to say anything? Anybody else?
When we're gonna get our money?
Mona?
When we're gonna get our money?
Come on, Nelson, it's your turn. I don't have the faintest idea.
Somebody said you're gonna get $10. The best friends money can buy.
I just really don't know what to say other than I love all of you for coming. But I do want to complete some stories. And the first one would have to be, well, we just sat down on Lee Hudson. The Lord blessed us with twins, Jessica and Philip. And when I got to the hospital, Betty couldn't get a name to go with Jessica. You don't remember it? You don't remember this?
Vaguely. I don't give myself
Hey,
enough
it's
credit.
getting old too. It's getting old too.
She just couldn't get, she come up with Philip David, but she couldn't come up with Jessica. And about that time, we were discussing, Lee Hudson came through the door. So we named her Jessica Lee Hudson. Came to us just like that. Not Hudson. I got to reciprocate on the gentleman over in the corner talking about $10. He is one hell of a fisherman.
Oh yeah.
We were down at the coast fishing one weekend,
Can I interrupt 1 second?
trying to fish.
There is two sides to every story.
It was my responsibility to drive the boat, and he was going to fishing. And as we got out into the waterway up from Anchorage to Marina, he said, see the buds? See the buds? See the buds? What are the buds? fish. Well, the buzz is fish. Well, I've heard this, and I've heard this, and I've heard it all day long. So we're parallel to the bridge. No, it's a local bridge there. That was before the new one they built between Morehead and Atlantic Beach. And I looked at my depth finder and I was in 5 foot of water. And I was headed in the direction of Atlantic Beach, again, right beside of the bridge. He said, crank this darn thing up. He said, follow the buzz. I said, I can't do it. I can't do it. It's too shallow. So I cranked it up and I just give it the gun and pull it right back. And I could feel it just, the V of the hull just plowing along the dirt. So I sit down. And I sit down in the worst possible place you could sit, on the very back. Birds move. Crank this thing out, let's go, let's go. And we're not going anywhere. I said, look over there. That's shallow, isn't it? That's dirt. I said, yes, that's dirt. What are we going to do? I said, you're going to have to push. And it was cold, it was in November. I don't have the bathing suit. So he stripped down. He's just got his drawers on. Here goes the cars by. And I'm sitting back there in the worst possible place I could sit, where the engine goes, you know, like this. And he's pushing. I hear him say, and he's a grunt. Finally got back up in the boat and he said, this is not working. So he looked, and I had not raised the engine on purpose. So I finally raised the engine, still didn't get us off. But he finally pushed us off. You should have seen him on this. Those people going by, him out in his drawers. It was cold.
Correction now. We had a few beers, one drive, one fishing. I'm fishing, he drives. Okay, so we hit land. Okay, I get out of the bush. I'm on the front, and he got the engine going forward, and I'm pushing for 45 Excellent, it's not working, so I go to the back. So finally I told him, Excellent, got the engine on, sit in the back, and I quit. That's when we got up. I got a bit to say about that too.
Would you keep it quiet?
I need my money.
There's a few things I could talk about MC. Is that the correct term that you are?
I'm just an innocent bystander.
An innocent bystander. But I elect not to do that because he is the attorney. That's almost as bad as the judge. But moving on around, we have another gentleman that came up and made some nice comments about me, and I appreciate that. He came to the office one day and decided he needed a typewriter. And Linda will verify this. And Linda was just typing away. We didn't owe him any money. He owed us some. He was paying us $29 a month. So he just picks the typewriter up and her typing and walks out the door with it. He never paid us for it. He never said thank you. We don't know any more about the typewriter.
I said that.
That,
It quit working when I got on with the drum, and
say something about Corky, and I love me and Billy. God, I love you for coming. And Bob Lyles from Morehead City, brother came up Highway 70 running 90 miles an hour. Get here, and it's a real joy of the life to see him and Mary. And Miss Judy, God, we love her. I make some comments about her, but I won't do that. He is? She's both our bankers, right?
Like I said, she'll call you back.
That's right. And I love all my family, Jack, for your comments. And you're exactly right. I remember that trip. Very, very nice. Jim and Kenneth, I know there's a field at my house for the comments he made. Because that man is almost like a doctor. You know, they put the gun to your head. Well, he just puts the razor to your head, and it's $25. And see, he charges me 25, everybody else 15. I don't understand. And, well, excuse me, Willis, I didn't know, I hadn't seen you. Appreciate that coming. I won't tell any stories of Willis. Willis is a good customer, and there's Miss Fay and Mr. Bobby. Miss Fay, I know you were going to have something to say.
I can't talk about you, Nelson. We're too close. Actually, I almost slept with you one night. I sat on the edge of the bed.
You sure did. And there is Carlos and the killer. Isn't that what you got, Carl?
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
She told me she'd kill me if I ever called her that again.
But Carl is, I've been together for a number of years. Linda and Larry, of course, it's delightful to see you out. I understand, Mr. Houser, you've been somewhat under the weather a little bit. But that don't hold us Johnston County girls down. And what gave all this away was my granddaughter. Running, I thought I was having a dream when I came through that door. And how they got here from Texas, and I'll hear about that later. And I'm so happy to have Paul participate in this. I love you very, very much. And I love all of you for coming. And I thank you. And I could make a lot of other comments, but I think I would probably bore you. So I'm going to let the attorney have it back. I'm just looking around to make sure there's not another good story I can tell. Found out Tom Gainey can really cook. Y'all know Tom Gainey. He's with Wake County. He sent me a couple of cakes. With a nice note since I've been healed that he baked them himself. I asked him his wife about that, and she wouldn't make a comment, but they were very good. Thank you, Tom. Miss Bay, come up. This lady right here means a lot to me. Back when we started the building program for our new sanctuary, over a year ago, however how long it's been, we finally had a dedication service around the 2nd of December, as I recall. And she was put in charge, or she took charge, or whatever happened, in selecting the organ, pipe organ for the sanctuary. And I feel that the good Lord called me to do this, and I was extremely satisfied and happy to be able to do it, to fulfill her dream along with other members of the church's dream in providing an organ for the church that me and my family have worked so hard for so many years. And I felt like there was something somewhere along the line that I was being asked to do. I didn't know when, but I feel that that was it, or possibly and hopefully more as the future goes on, or as I continue in the future, and I hope for many, many years. But this special lady right here is my neighbor and my good friend, and I love her and Mr. Bobby, and Lisa, the daughter. Lisa's not here, but she has been very instrumental in it. And she sat with me, and I get sick, and here comes the cookies, and just looks after me. I just love her.
I love you too, and I really appreciate all the love and the concern that Nelson has, not only for me and my family, but the gift of the organ of the church is something that it was very special to me, because I played this little kind of rinky-dink organ, and he always fussed because the congregation was so noisy you couldn't hear it. Well, he doesn't have to worry about hearing this one. And I went this afternoon and worked it. So one of these days I'm going to play this big one. But that was a gift of love to the church and to the community. So we just will treasure it. And it's one of those gifts that will go on after you and I are not here anymore. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for coming. It means a lot to me.
You know, Lee Hudson was telling the story, Nelson tell the story that Nelson told about Jessica being born, and about naming Jessica after the next person that walked through the door, and that's how she got the name Jessica Lee Allen. And I was just thinking what a blessing it was that the next person through the door wasn't Monique. Who's responsible for this event. He's worked long and hard and with a great deal of secrecy in order to bring this off. And everybody, or every person who knows Nelson, knows how difficult it is to hide something from him. I believe she did it.
I believe she did it. Whoever she is.
This time I'd like to recognize and ask to come forward Betty Allen. Betty.
She says, so I
Nelson constantly tells me how I procrastinate, so I thought it was about time after that I was able to do something for him that I didn't start at the last minute. And I do appreciate everybody who is here helping me to keep this secret. We started planning it, I guess, back in December, and all of a sudden it was here. And I hope that you have enjoyed it. We have some music, I thought. I haven't seen anybody dancing yet. Somebody said something about Nelson being a good dancer. We're going to see, maybe. We'd like to invite you to dance if you would like to. We're going to ask him to have a seat over here. He has some gifts. Maybe he would like to open some of his gifts and visit with you some more. Please eat some more food, have some more refreshments, and enjoy yourselves. Thank you so much for coming.
thank you.
Gotta get him on the phone. You got to open his mouth, too. We'll use your office. You didn't know you got to come from there.
You don't know yet, it's good 39.
You know I got you about a couple of years. Yes, sir. She did that.
Do you go have anything to do with it?
No, just leave.
She didn't call me in.
Then they had stuff to do with it. You know her, don't you? No, she didn't tell me. She didn't tell me, but she might talk to your wife a little bit.
Somebody beat me out of the top like that.
All right, where's Linda? Linda. Hey, Linda, come here with me just a minute. Now look, now let's tell him the truth. You done used that typewriter so long, you just about wore the thing out. And you told me, you said, I need a new typewriter. I said, I'll take the damn thing to Durham. And then that's what I did. Now tell it, ain't that the truth? See now, Nelson? Oh, yeah, that's what you know it was. You said, this whole thing is about wore out.
And I needed new and it
That's
was on by me.
That's exactly right. I told you we cooked this thing up. And
You picked it up and left.
yeah, she said, sure I did. So you would buy her a new one. She didn't have nothing to work with. You done worked the thing with the damn.
I ain't talking.
No, by God.
You can, you know you can't override it.
Ain't no way.
Yeah, but Lizzie, you didn't tell me home story, but you didn't tell me about CPNL. CPNL, the power board at the time, when we still charging $29.
Oh, that's not a bunch of bull.
Yeah, that's a bunch of bull, Nelson. That's right. You
Oh, yeah. I should have told about that. Since he was talking about the old pipeline that I tried to, you know, it helped his business out. That's why you grown like you have. You had something to work with. Hey. You remember that dead man bill about the cow and all that, and you wrote on that thing, Merry Christmas, ho, 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 and then when we get close to Christmas, and sent the bill, the thing back to me, when I billed you. Yeah.
That's got a whole lot of it.
No, you ain't either. I'm coming over and get you today.
Thank you, darling.
We just want to look at the board. It's called
I saw you out there doing it. Oh, no, you didn't. That's right. That's right. That's what you mean.
This card is from Mom Ed.
Uh-oh, watch out.
Another year old. Well, I know just how you feel. You feel like taking a nap, don't you? Happy birthday. And no on the wall.
We enjoyed it. We'll see you tonight.
I'm trying to go fast.
That's what happens when you get 50.
Yeah, we understand, you're getting old.
You got 4 years before you leave.
That's right. I gotta get go.
Second time. Second time around. Little kids like to do that.
I'll let him do what he
Russell's never stayed about 2 minutes, 3 hours by himself. First time birthday, no. Break me sometime. Better in mom and dad's house than yours, huh?
Wait till she gets the bill.
Hey, got a phone in?
This is my wedding band. Engagement ring. We'll start all over.
Who are you going to start with?
There's no cards, whoever volunteers. It's a snuff box.
That's now.
What is it now?
Stamp machine, you probably stole it on the dollar. Anybody take somebody's typewriter while someone's typing on it.
And that's what made your business out, because you had to buy her new one the next day. You know that.
Now, what made your business was buying two-way radio.
Exactly right. Sure was.
Now you know to saving some more.
We enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, that's it.
How long have you been around? I understand your brother's not. You're probably
Jane? Thank you. Glad you got a chance to see me.
Just made my day.
You had a large time then? Well, I know that she had to do it early to get it. Over those eagle eyes of yours. I got a house guest at home.
You watch it now. You put something on me in the wrong.
I tried to get him to come with us, don't you, okay? No. So that's, stay home instead. Yeah. It's not much. And if you don't like it, I know an alternative. So you know what. Yeah.
No, I don't like it. Oh, I thought it was something else to do with it.
No, I don't know how to pose.
Got me some jockey shorts for my neck.
It's not. I don't know how you fold them. I guess you know how to fold them.
Yeah, that's pretty.
Two bloody nuts. Okay. Bye. Happy birthday. See you Monday. Bye, y'all.
I'm slow. Oh, I can't. I wouldn't put it on visit to hug you. I haven't seen you since Christmas. It's Christmas. Know that. You go ahead. I'm not tired of it.
How about that?
Because he had never done it.
Yes, I have.
Keep praying. Yeah, I think you have too. I see the results walking around here.
Recycle. There you are, little girl. You wouldn't listen? Another little girl.
Well, we started.
Birdseed, yeah.
Oh, that goes with it. That goes with it. I just
What you do, you got out of the truck? Well, put some in and listen to it. It's called
What does it say?
I'm not too young to be starting.
They can leave so early, but you know how it is. Got to travel all the way back here. Nelson, you kept it going slow enough and long enough so you get up and show you can dance. So I was just consider that I am. So you don't do nice little bit of that. You get out to boy. Hey, that sounds She's always been special. Right. All right.
Always will be.
You better believe it. You better believe it.
Wait. You gotta read the car first. I ain't gonna take you. Can't hear you. Speak up.
I'll come back up in front of the camera and we couldn't see nobody.
Daddy, speak
That's
up.
not bad.
What do you call a 50-year-old good self-life?
So y'all don't have much room.
That's always said.
It says liar. Linda, Lauren, Larry, and Landon.
How often do you come back up? I mean,
Really?
oh, you do? Oh, that's not too bad. Keeps you so far away.
This is supposed to help.
Turn around to the camera, that bud.
Take them out. Take them out. That's supposed to help him not be a liar.
Oh, really?
Supposed to turn on Betty.
Yeah. That's silk too, buddy.
Did you get it?
Yeah.
I'm gonna use these tonight.
You better believe it, I would too.
I don't want no headaches, no nothing.
Right.
No excuses.
Happy birthday, man.
Betty, you look out tonight.
I saw that, I walked in right in time.
He said, I'm gonna wear this thing.
I didn't bug you.
Is that the only one you have? Is it a boy or girl? Girl. Well, you gotta keep going. Have hands on that chair. How old is she?
Yeah.
Hey. See, 7.
Hey, Dad. I should sing for us. I never You don't sound tender inside your church. You don't sound tender
Buck me start over here. I felt it. You called it in.
Polish electric calculator.
That's a car running under there. Oh, what's it?
Mama, that's a pencil.
Ain't no blue camera.
Right. Oh, yeah, light blue, come on. No one under red, anything I get red, have it painted.
Jeff, did you ask him to repeat what he just said?
He said, you still got that blue Cadillac? I said, no, we got a great one now. I said, every time I get the truck or something, I said, that thing got this red on. I said, I'll have it painted. Oh, no. I know.
Well, I'm not the taste is in me.
Day I stumbled from my bed, under crash.